Hello everyone, and welcome back to this week's Sabbath School Nugget. Now before we begin Sabbath's lesson, would you please take a moment to hit those like and share buttons? And as always, please feel free to leave us a comment or a question in the comments section below. We love to hear from you. Now this week's lesson is entitled Rebellion in a Perfect Universe. Our memory text for this week comes from a well-known Bible passage. It's Isaiah 14 and 12. How you have fallen from heaven, you star of the morning, son of the dawn. You've been cut down to the earth, you who defeated the nations. Now, Sabbath's lesson brings us to the age-old question of, where did evil come from? And it's a great question when you think about it, and we Christians are not the only ones who have asked that question. For example, in Greek mythology, evil enters the world only after Pandora opens a box that happened to contain all the evils that would plague the world. But this myth doesn't answer the question of where did the evils in the box come from? So where did evil come from indeed? After all, how did corruption find its way into a perfect universe? Think about that for a moment. God is perfect. Heaven is perfect. Certainly the angels and the heavenly hosts and the peoples from other created worlds are perfect. And we know that God is perfect. Therefore, everything He creates has to be perfect. So where did evil come from? Did God create evil? Did our first parents, Adam and Eve, create evil? And just exactly where did evil come from, and how did we end up in the mess we are in? How far back do we have to go to find an answer to that question? Now, this brings us to Sunday's lesson, which takes us back to the Garden of Eden. And what we find in Eden is not evil, but love. Love by its very nature reminds us that in order for love to be love, it must be expressed. In other words, in order for love to be love, it must focus on the blessing and the benefit of another person. Now, this is how we express love, through words and deeds that enrich another person's life. And secondly, God is love, which means everything He does from creation to the law to salvation and the second coming, everything God does is rooted, motivated, and grounded in love. And lastly, because God is immutable, meaning God does not and cannot change, this means that His love for us will never change. There's nothing that you can do that will ever stop God from loving you. It was this love that created a perfect world, free from the curse of sin, because sin, by its nature, is the opposite of love. This is why God is not the originator of sin, because sin stands in opposition to everything God is. So if that's true, then where and how did sin originate? And that's a conversation for the rest of this week's lesson. Thank you for joining us. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow.